I might have a new favorite show. Again. Huh. Why do I feel like I've said that before? Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today, we're finally talking about Superman and Lois Season 3. Yeah, I know it's been a couple months, it's been off the air, but I finally got around to it, like I've said before in previous reviews. I'm almost never on time with the Arrowverse shows, so I finally got around to finishing it up. Just finished the season. Finally getting around to talking about it. I plan on talking about Season 4, but yeah. Also, this is my second time recording this video. I had issues with the first time recording it, so this is attempt number 2 of completely redoing the whole video, because yay, 20 some minutes talking about this season. Gone. But anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Superman and Lois Season 3, and wow, this was a great season. It was really a great season. So, I have to say, once again, just like I've said this before, just like the previous Superman and Lois reviews and the Stargirl reviews, I didn't write down notes this time around.
And a moral compass.
Just because I didn't feel like it. I just watched the show, and I'm going based off of what I'm thinking, what I remember, and so I might forget to say some things. But yeah, this season was really good. I feel like it is better than Season 2. Not quite as good as Season 1. I feel like Season 2 was it wasn't like a step down, but it was kind of like a step down, but it wasn't like a huge step down. Like the show went from perfect to great to perfect, if that makes sense. But yeah, let's get into it. And I'm gonna start off with negative, because there's one big problem I have with this season, and I'm gonna talk about it first because it is fresh in my mind, because it's about the ending. Because I'm not a fan of how they ended it. Okay, so here's what I don't like. I don't like the fact that the season ended in episode, I believe, 11. Because when we hit episode 11, they concluded a bunch of a bunch of storylines. They concluded the Manheims storyline. They completed the cancer storyline, which we'll get to. I wonder if the video is actually recording this part. We'll see. My controller died while in the middle of recording. I wonder if you guys got to see that. Anyway, they completed a bunch of storylines, like the Manheim storyline, like Lois's storyline, which we'll get to later. In this episode, in episode 11, that should have been the last episode of the season, because they ended most things with just very few plot points that could be carried on, like Jordan and his powers, Jordan and Sarah, and obviously the big one, Lex Luthor getting released from prison. But those are like great little like lingering plot lines that were perfect to pick up in the next season. To be like, whoa, especially Lex Luthor being released from prison, this is a good tease for what's to come in Season 4. We're finally going to get the most iconic Superman showdown between Lex Luthor and Superman in the next season. But no, for some reason the season continued for 2 more episodes that felt like they should have been Season 4 Episode 1 and Season 4 Episode 2, where they bring in Lex Luthor, who I actually did really like. I actually like this version of Lex Luthor. I think it was a good version of Lex Luthor. And Doomsday. Also, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Superman and Lois Season 3, click away, come back after you see major spoilers here. I already spoiled something. But yeah. Now let's dive into some spoilers. Anyway. So yeah, they did so what they did was they ended the story of Season 3. And then they started a new story, but they didn't finish that story. And I don't like when seasons do that. I much prefer when a season story finishes, and then we get a conclusion, but with some little hints and teasers of what's to come. And then the next season we get a new story. For some reason they decided to do that. So thank goodness that this show was renewed for Season 4, or else we'd have that horrible cliffhanger of Superman and Doomsday battling on the moon. Imagine if that was the end of the show. It would be the worst thing ever. Kind of like how poor DC Legends of Tomorrow ended. Like, that sucked so bad, man. Not like it was a bad ending, but we never get to see the conclusion. No closure, but whatever. But yeah, what's funny too is that there were some things that I feel like kind of were set up to be almost like an ending, like the Irons. I feel like they kind of set that up with them moving to Metropolis. That could have been like an ending to their story. Even Kyle and Chrissy, another thing we'll talk about later, they kind of set them up in a way that could be the end of their story, but there's still so much more they could explore. But yeah, that was my biggest problem with the season, is that they're trying to do two stories, well, 1.5 story really, because they didn't even finish that one story. But yeah, so I think it should have ended at episode 11, and the next two should have been a part of season 4. But maybe when I actually watch season 4, I'll change my mind. I'll be like, no, okay, that makes sense why they were a part of season 3. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, so now let's dive in to some more things, like the characters. Let's start with Lois's character arc, Lois's story. And here's why. This season of Superman and Lois, not just Lois's story, even though that is the biggest part, but I think the season as a whole is a lot heavier, a lot darker, a lot more mature than the first 2 seasons of the show. Some of that is, I feel like it is a bit more violent than the first 2 seasons. It's a bit more mature than the first 2 seasons, and because of the Lois storyline, it's also it's a lot heavier. So they decided to throw a curveball, something I was not expecting at all, by having a storyline where Lois Lane has cancer. And I was not expecting that at all. They teased it being like, there might be a third Kent kid. No, that's not what's actually happening. Lois has cancer. And it's one of those things too, because they handle it in a great way, where doing a storyline like that could go wrong in so many ways. They could not treat it seriously enough. They could offend some people. It could be too much for some people because of it being very realistic. Because it's a real horrible thing that causes real tragedies. So there's so many ways they could have messed this up, but somehow they did a great job at handling it in a way that was mature, that wasn't offensive, that wasn't annoying. They handled it in such a beautiful way, and in such an emotional way too, because it's one of those things too where it's Lois Lane. It's one of our 2 title characters, and we know there's a season 4 coming. So in the back of my mind, I knew Lois Lane isn't going to die. There's no way they kill her off. This is still fiction after all. But they do such a good job that the actors do such a phenomenal job at portraying it, as well as it being a very real horrible thing. Adds to the emotion. It made it so emotional. Lois finding out was emotional. To me, what probably hurt the most was her telling Clark, Jonathan, and Jordan. That was probably the most heartbreaking part of this entire season. And then it breaks your heart over and over again with her telling everyone else, with all these other things that go on. It just breaks your heart, and it continues to hit you in the gut, in the feels. But they do it in such a great way. And they use that to connect it to the villains in a great way too, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So yeah, I'm shocked, and I think it's I feel like this is like the best couple of characters to do it to, because of the fact that it's like Superman is all powerful. He's got every powerful. He's super powerful. He can defeat anything. He can save anyone. He's super powerful. But this is something he's powerless to stop. There's nothing this all-powerful alien can do about this to someone he loves so much. And that also makes it heartbreaking. And they even continue the heartbreak, because even after you find out Lois is going to survive, because of the other stuff going on, like the surgery, there's still emotions to it where you're like, man, I'm still feeling emotions for this family. And I'm surprised of how well they did it and how far into it they went. And I've heard some people actually triplets. I've heard some people actually didn't like that storyline, but I thought it was handled really well, and it was heartbreaking. But yeah, so, and like I said, that's connected somehow brilliantly into the villains. So let's talk about them. The Manheims. I think that they were pretty great villains. So first off, Pia, the one who Lois's cancer storyline connects to, I thought it was great because they become friends, and because they have this shared experience now, and you like them until you find out Pia is Bruno's wife, and she's also a murderer. But I also like how their actions are mostly because they want to help their community, they want to protect their son, and even a big part of the season, Bruno's doing these horrible things because he's willing to do anything to save his wife, even if it means killing a bunch of people. And they even do a great job with, I think, bringing in their son, I'm blanking on Mateo. Well, not only with a decent twist that I didn't see coming, but I also did see coming. I didn't fully trust him, but I didn't see him being Manheim until closer to the reveal. But they do a great job at where at first he hates this. He doesn't like that his parents are villains, but he doesn't want to lose his mom, so he's willing to go along with whatever evil thing has to be done to save her. So I think the villains were done pretty well in this season. I'm not sure if they're quite as good as the villains in season 1 or not, but I think they were still pretty great villains. Now there were some questionable things where it's like, well, really, I mean, why not let Superman help you in this moment when you obviously need help, because and you know that he would help and stuff like that, but you know, it's okay, whatever. But yeah, so that's the villains. Now getting to the other characters, I think they do a pretty good job at continuing the other characters' storylines as well. Let's start with the Cushings. First off, Sarah and Jordan. I didn't mind where they went with this storyline, but I feel like it could have been done better. First of all, I think these two actors actually have great chemistry with each other, and it's one of the things where I really like the characters together, and I really hope they end up being endgame. But even to the point where, because they end the season where they're not really friends, but they don't hate each other anymore. And to me, it's like, no, please, at least be friends. My hope is that they end up together before the show ends completely. Whether it's a time jump and then we find out, oh, okay, in the future when they became adults, they eventually got together. Or if they actually just get together as teens. I don't care. I just, at the very least, make them be friends, even if they're not together. But yeah. And then Kyle and Lana, I had mixed feelings where they went. Kyle got with Chrissy, and now they're having a kid. Kind of have mixed feelings on it. I don't hate it. I'm not sure if it's where I would have gone with it, but I don't hate it. Same thing with Lana and Irons. I don't hate it. I'm not sure. Once again, I'm not sure if I would have went there, but I don't hate it. And then Natalie meets is, first of all, I like her dynamic with the rest of the kids, Sarah, Jordan, Jonathan. That was fun. As well as her relationship with her dad, I thought was done pretty well for the most part. And she is the one who meets Mateo, and we get that storyline there that I thought was pretty good. But yeah, so I for the most part liked where their characters went in this season. Jeremy Irons, I thought, had a pretty good story too, with him meeting his sister, who he lost her on his Earth, she lost him on this Earth, and I love his character arc with Bruno too, where he's like, he's okay with killing Bruno. He kind of wants to kill Bruno, but at the end, Natalie and I keep blanking on Mateo's name for some reason. Mateo are able to convince him to have mercy and let him and help him save his wife. I thought that was a pretty good character arc for him. Back to Jonathan and Jordan. First of all, I really liked. I thought they did it. I liked the storyline they went with for Jordan in his Superboy arc, where he starts liking the fame a bit too much, because I actually think it works out well, because this is a kid that is kind of used to being bullied in school. He's used to being not liked, being an outcast. So now that he has superpowers, even though he started off doing it just because he wanted to help people, now he's getting attention for it. He's letting people see him. He's letting people take selfies with him, and he's no longer doing it for to helping people. He's doing it for the fame, for people to like him. And I think that's a pretty good storyline, especially for a teenage super character, just because for some reason people, especially at school, want to be popular. They want to be famous. So imagine one of those kids who want to be popular and famous so much get superpowers. That's like the ultimate thing to make you famous. So obviously he's gonna want it, and when he starts getting that bit of fame, he just wants more. And I think they handled it well with him and his parents, how the parents punished him for it. And you know, I just thought that was handled really well. I like the direction they went with that, and I do hope that they continue down the good direction with Jordan learning his lesson and being like, yeah, I have to do this to help people. I can't do this for fame. So I really like that storyline. Jonathan, I feel like they didn't do too much with his character. I do like how he became a fireman trainee with Kyle at the fire department. Also, the story of him with his girlfriend Candace's dad was very, I thought it was done pretty well. And dude, they made Candace's dad the most hateable, the most hateable character on the show. Like, I'm not lying to you, I hated this guy more than any villain in this entire show. Like, that's how hateable they made him. Like, I can't remember wanting to go into a fictional universe to punch a guy in the face as much as I wanted to do that to this guy. Like, wow. Which is technically a good thing, because that was the whole point. They wanted you to hate this guy. So, like, you can't help it, because you also know that Clark is a pretty nice guy, but he messed with Lois. He messed with his sons. So just seeing Clark kind of like threaten him, but also not doing anything too like not hurting him in too much, was just like so satisfying. Like, yeah, get him, Clark. That was really well. Also, I do want to talk about the recast. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest fan of recast in movies or shows. I don't know why. I just don't like when characters get recast. So when they announced that he was gonna be recast, I understood why, because I heard I did hear somewhat of why. I was kind of like, really? Oh man. But the guy they got to play him, I'm sorry, I don't remember the names of either actor, but the guy they got to play him, I think, did a phenomenal job. It literally took one episode, and I was like, yeah, this guy's Jonathan Kent. Not only does he look pretty similar to the original actor who portrayed him, but also he does such a great job of portraying the character too. So I thought that the recast was done pretty well. So yeah. Another story I wanted to bring up, because I forgot to talk about it, was that I really liked the storyline that they told with Natalie, Irons, and Lois Lane. I loved when they brought up this necklace, I think it was a necklace at least, that Nat gave to her mom, because her mom is Lois Lane on the other Earth, just not in this one. I really like the storyline that they told there, where she wanted to give it to this Lois Lane, and Jeremy Irons is a bit more like, well, I'm not sure if we should, but you can do whatever you want with it. But then he eventually comes around to it, realizing that he was just holding on to the past. I really like that storyline. I like that they acknowledge that Lois Lane, it does still look and sound like her mother, because she is on another world, just not this one. So I just want to bring up that. I really like that. I also just want to make sure that that's somewhere in this review. I actually do like this version of Lex Luthor. I thought they did a pretty good job with this version. Let's talk about some other things, like the action. I thought the action in the show this season was pretty good. There wasn't as much of it, and I think that's not a bad thing, especially because of the fact that I think it's really a testament to the show, that the fact that it's a Superman show, but I'm still entertained, I'm still hooked when there's not Superman action. That's how you know you've written a good show, because I care about the characters. I care about what's going on with their personal lives, not just how they're going to beat people up, how they're going to beat up bad guys. Although them being up bad guys is still awesome, and I still love to see it. But yeah, that was really good. And the action scenes we did get were really cool. The CGI in the show continues to be good compared to CW budgets. Obviously, there's some scenes in it that don't look the greatest. Doomsday it's kind of iffy looking at times. There's some iffy CGI, but it still looks way better than the later seasons of The Flash. sorry, Flash. So, it still looks pretty good. And yeah, I thought the season overall was pretty good. I'm very curious where they're going to go. I'm really sad that season 4 is the final season. I'm also really sad about the side characters having a reduced role. My only hope is that even if they're at a reduced role, my only hope really is that they give those characters satisfying conclusions. I feel that could be hard with them having less screen time, but to me, as long as they give each of those characters satisfying conclusions, I'll be happy. but I do mean every character. I mean Natalie. I mean, why I'm blanking on her dad's first name. Irons. I mean all three of the Cushings and Chrissy. I want all of them to have satisfying conclusions. So hopefully we get that. Oh, and General Lane. I hope that too. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this season. Just a quick recap. I really like the season so far. I thought that it was pretty good. And I cannot wait for season 4, even though I'm sad it's the final one. But, I mean, kind of like Stargirl. But I guess it's better to end up like Stargirl, ending sooner and having great seasons, than ending up like sadly, like Flash, where it starts off great, but then it goes for too long and it gets less good. So, yeah. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch. If you like this video, please hit like. If you want to see more videos like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you know when I post and go live. If you're interested, I actually have reviewed seasons 1 and 2 of Superman and Lois. If you're interested, I've even reviewed seasons 2 and 3 of Stargirl. Not season 1, because when season 1 came out, I didn't have a channel. Although I am thinking about possibly talking about it again. Anyway. Shoot, I've even talked about Wednesday, because somebody did Superman and Lois. I just like the show so much, I really want to talk about it. If you're interested. But yeah, and I've also reviewed a bunch of other movies and shows, Marvel, DC. Go check those out, please, if you're interested. Yeah, thanks for watching. I hope to see you guys in the next video. And yeah, bye.